we get so stuck in our minds that we've got to do it. I've got to be the one that does it, no matter what it is. And one of the most powerful questions, in fact, it's the top of the question hierarchy. Why is the absolutely most disempowering question? And then we work into how and what, which are really great conversations, and when, which is like really getting us inspired. And the top of that hierarchical question is who. The more you ask who, the greater success you're going to have, rather than always thinking it has to be you. And so I hope that's helpful, client, to get you thinking different. I want everybody thinking different because we have so much leverage around us in this space, even in this room, that you guys can be tapping into and getting help and growing. Okay? And let's dive into it. We've got 8 chapters of content now that we can talk about. And here's what I really want to be chatting about today is how's the implementation going? And if it isn't going, what are you going to make happen this weekend? So the best place for you guys to start brainstorming what you want to chat about today is literally the last page of every chapter. Mike has been nice enough to lay out the implementation for us. So either what are you doing or what are you going to do? And I'm here to listen to you guys. What do you got?
I at least opened an account. And then for every time I'm at my part-time job, I take that certain percentage that you were talking about, Coach, and then I put it in there. So that's what I've been doing for now. It's small, but it's there.
So you're even taking a little bit of profit out of the JOB.
Yeah.
That is rock star activity right there. A lot of folks in this world are making a transition into real estate from some other employment. And so absolutely making that a part of your profit world. Man, what a great bonus nugget. Good job. Good job, Carrie. What else you guys got going?
So, I kind of started a little late in regards to reading the chapters, but what I'm determining, is that even a word?
I like it though. It's a combination of determined and termination. I'm on board, client.
But what I see is that every dollar has its place. I mean, he is talking about setting up so many accounts, it makes me dizzy. But what I got from that, he says, is at the end of the year or when I need to pay something, there's no scrambling. There's absolutely no scrambling because I know exactly where that money is coming from. And so I'm going to go open up a couple extra accounts. And guess what? I don't even have the money to put it in there yet. But there's this little thing called faith. Little thing. It's just a little tiny thing called faith. I'm going to open up those accounts because, of course, next week I got to start, grinding out my calls so that I have some place to put this. That's just my take on it.
So here's the fun part. Almost every one of us has a business account, an operating account. So what we're doing is creating an income account to act over the top of that, and then creating 3 other accounts. That's it right now. Just start with income accounts so all the dollars flow in there, and then we start parsing it out. Percentage to profit, percentage to tax, percentage to owner comps, and then what's left winds up in the operating account. So the other thing I would challenge you on this, client, because I know you've got the second business, the dental practice, is implementing profit first on the dental practice and watch what happens to the financial life you're living.
My wife just walked by on the back end. You guys didn't see her. So what are you doing? I said, I'm doing a class on profit. And I think you need to listen to this book. And she was like, oh, okay. So yeah. I mean, yeah. Why try it on my business when I could do it on hers?
Well, and again, hers now we can start creating profit spinning off, which we should, that then can be invested for future. We absolutely should be making sure the tax burden's covered. and you guys can start really getting your owner's comp that you get. Because I suspect, like almost everybody, you're running traditional models. Okay, gross income, I cover all my expenses, and we live off of what's left.
Absolutely.
And I bet those
Absolutely.
expenses, when you flip it on its head, that you go, wait a minute, now we can strip away expenses. That's the key part of this new way of thinking thing, is you're going to be more sensitive and more focused on the spending and getting rid of spending that truly isn't generating bottom line revenue. That's the key.
Also, one of talking about one of the problems that happens with us as small time businesses, we'll do something, we'll open up some, a vendor will call us and say, hey, this thing is the greatest thing since sliced milk, sliced bread. And then we'll go, yeah, I know, Tom. Yeah, you're not gonna let me lift that one down. And then we'll go.
Oh, I'm writing these down. Don't worry.
We'll go ahead and we'll do that, right? And we'll forget about that thing. And it's sucking out money every month. And so Rocket Money, for those of you guys who are really trying to figure out how to find these little things that are draining your accounts, I kind of looked at mine some time ago, and it was like $300 that were coming out from places I didn't even remember existed anymore. So
that is one of the reasons why, starting November 4, the week of, on Thursdays, we're going to do our financial literacy mastermind every Thursday. So we can build you some models to be able to track this as well without having to sign up for another subscription to eliminate subscriptions. That seems kind of antithetical. So that being said, what else do you guys have from the content? Who else?
he's going to keep quiet until y'all say something. So y'all might as well say something.
I don't really have a lot to say up from 1 to 6, but from 6 to 8, it was good. It talked to me about, cutting the debt and squeezing the this and that. So those things were very, very helpful to me. That's the thing. Like, I don't have as much. So when we were talking about 1 to 6, I was just kind of learning it and listening to it, right? Like, so I can implement those spreadsheets, but I don't have the stuff. So I feel bad. So I don't have as much to say other than those last 3. Otherwise, I would say more.
Don't feel bad about it. And again, if people aren't speaking up, it tells me they're not implementing. Right? And that can be one of two things, and we can talk about it. I'm not implementing because I'm having some psychological resistance. My subconscious is undermining me. Or I'm not implementing because I'm not making it a priority. Either one we can explore. And if you are implementing, awesome. How's that been going? And if you haven't implemented, the other piece is, okay, here's my first step.
Right.
I'm going to take some action between now and Monday to get this moving in my life.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking to hear from you guys on. So thank you, Carrie. You've been awesome speaking up. And there are 7 more in here that I'm going to let sit and marinate, because it's fun. I could have a screen of all these people not speaking running on a video so people can question what's going on.
Did you see the chat, Julianne?
And her mic is even hot, Julianne. So what do you got, my dear? And the free thing you'll get next.
No, I mean, honestly, I guess it's because obviously I'm not as chatty about this one because it's a system. So aside from the mindset and it's a system. So to me, it's very black and white, actually, which is wonderful. And so I don't know, like I said, it just doesn't seem like as much discussion points for me. I'm stay at home. We don't rely on my income. for my business, it goes into one account and it sits. It doesn't get touched. It doesn't get pulled out. It's separate. So once I do my next launch and there's more and we get towards the year end, then what I'll do is I'll have those accounts set up when I launch off next year. Right now it's not, for me, it's not implement. All I can do is set up the one separate account. I guess I can have the
So
other account.
you've had
Yeah,
revenue.
sit there and do nothing.
Well, you've had revenue generated in 2024, correct?
Yeah.
So could the appropriate amount be moved into the tax account so it's ready to go?
It's all just sitting in one account. It doesn't get touched.
I agree it's all sitting in one account, yet could we not implement and set up the tax account and move the money so that's done? Could we not implement and set it and move it into the profit account so that's done? And maybe, just maybe, then there'll be a little bit in that account, which is your operational account, and yet most of it will be in the tax account and the income account. So when, again, this is about gaming the psychology. There actually is a lot of mindset in this system of, okay, now when I go look at my one account, it really isn't that thick. It really isn't that fat. Right now, as you look at it, and this is for everybody, wow, look at all the money I have from this year. Where if we take the chunk and move it off to taxes, because that's not our money anyway, we're sitting on it, it's really not ours. Gone. And then if we take another chunk and move it into the income, now we're narrowing. When you have a lot of money sitting in your operations account and somebody comes to you with the next shiny object for your business, you're more apt to say yes. Oh, I can handle it, no problem. Yet if the not your money taxes is moved and
you don't
the
have
not your company's money owner operations is moved to pay your bills, and if it's not your money, the profit is moved, now it's a much smaller pool sitting there. That's the thought process behind it, Julianne. So I challenge you to find the accounts and set them up now and move that stuff rather than waiting until, okay, I'm going to do it after the first of the year. Because a lot of times first of the year, other things come up and we'll do it Feb 1 and we'll get caught up. Can't tell you how many people I've coached and counseled on finances in the real estate space. And we're finally getting to tax day, and they've now got 4 or 5 months worth of bookkeeping, et cetera, to do to finally, quote, get caught up on something they said they were going to do January 1. So I'm just going to challenge you on that thought process. Nefrita, what do you got?
So I want to say that I've been extremely terrified with reading this book. Because numbers isn't really my thing. Okay, I'm learning to be more comfortable with numbers and not be intimidated by them anymore. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. But going through this right from the very beginning and all these accounts and wanted to find these percentages, and it has been intimidating me because one, I don't have that much revenue, right, that I've made to actually allocate to these accounts. Or hear some people talk about, well, I don't have anything to move there yet, right? I definitely fall in that bracket. And two, it does make me look at myself and take accountability like, oh my God, you've been doing this all wrong, right? Which is okay. But I like that in the book, like it's very encouraging and it's very practical. So some of the things that I kind of took out of it, like I'm trying to implement now is like, the only way to turn it into a sustained habit is to start enjoying your workouts, right? I thought about Dorothy. Dorothy's always talking about making it fun. And how can I do this so that I'm excited about it? So I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this a fun thing? And I was talking to my significant other, and it was so crazy because I'm telling him about the book that I'm reading. And he's like, you know what? He had already mentioned this before a few months ago. And I was like, yeah. But he was basically saying, I want to be more excited about going to make deposits than making withdrawals every month. And when he first said that, I was like, yeah.
That's so deep.
It was like, wow. So when he said that, and when I was reading in the book, I had to go back and tell him, I'm like, you're really a genius, even though I probably don't tell you enough, but this is a real thing that I really want to implement into my life, right? If I can be excited about making a deposit, like for me, I'm excited about um, you know, I basically schedule family events and I handle family reunions and things like that. Like I get excited about that, right? When I'm going to volunteer in the community and help someone, I'm excited. I'm gassed up about that, right? When I'm going on a vacation to Jamaica or to go see my relatives, I can't sleep the night before. So how do I implement that into my business when it comes to the finance piece that has for so long been this scary elephant in the room that I have not addressed, right? And so listening to you guys has been very encouraging, but like those are the things that I've taken out. And so I've been making little steps. I've opened 5 accounts because I've had some other accounts, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start over, and I just opened 5 brand new accounts. And then I felt like crap because they all was like 0. And so I went through Navy Federal because that was another thing that stopped me. What if I will have to pay for these, right? And he talks about these things in the book. Coach, you talked about, well, negotiate the fee. So I have Navy Federal, and they didn't charge me shit. So I was like, okay, you have no excuse not to set up these accounts and make something happen, right? So I'm making these little steps, and I'm still working on finding the other 2, because there's a bank that I wanted, but it's like around the corner. So I was like, nah, that's not gonna work. It's too close. So I'm still working on that piece, but I'm excited on, tapping in on Thursdays to do this implementation piece with you guys, so I don't feel so crappy about doing this, but I am excited, right? And I love that he talks here about acting as if your best month is the norm is one surefire way to keep yourself locked in survival trap. And I was like, ooh, how many times do we experience that? We get a good sale and we're like, ooh, I have this 15K. I can do whatever I want. But it's like, do you realize that you're just probably having a good moment or a good week or a good month? But if you live thinking, oh, this is where I am, he tells us we're going to end up back in 0. Because now we're going to go spending that money because we didn't allocate it to where it needs to be. And now we're thinking we got money to spend. Well, technically, you really don't, right? And another scary thing that I was like, oh, I don't want to be that company that's there for 15, 25, 50 years and has no profit. I didn't even know that was a thing until reading this book. I'm thinking everybody's making profit. No, some of them are just living paycheck to paycheck, but they run a business. So a few things that jumped out. I love that, right? And then it was like, celebrate every time you save. You guys mentioned that piece as well. But another one, it was a quote that I actually have on my email, but it's by Henry Ford, and I can't find it on what page. But it basically says, if you think you can't or you think you can't, then you're right. So,
Yeah,
what is it that you think you can do? Well, I know that I can make my business profitable, and I'm so excited because I have you guys to lean in and to do it with. So, that's just a little bit of my
absolutely.
thought.
So absolutely, the Henry Ford quote is on point. And I want to take you back a little bit to the beginning, though. Have you ever worked on a second language, Nafrita?
Spanish, so
Okay.
poquito español.
And then in those few moments where you actually get to use your mediocre Spanish when you're learning, it feels really good, doesn't it?
When I went to Puerto Rico and my family, they were looking at me like, you know Spanish? And I just know, like I said, poquito español, but I'm like, sí, like,
Yeah.
me habla español. And they're looking at me all excited. So I feel, yeah, I know that moment.
So here's why I'm dropping that moment in there. Numbers are the language of business. That's a Tony Robbins quote. That's all businesses are just a mathematical equation of ratios and numbers, including real estate.
Right.
So that's what you're learning here is that language.
Mm.
And then as for profit, almost every single real estate agent out there is digging themselves a bigger hole. You guys are some of the few that I'm looking at that are learning to break out of that and stop doing it. And so that's why this content is so critical as we wrap up this year. So awesome job. Who else?
Oh, and
Oh, I muted you. Come on back, Nafrita. Glenna,
yeah,
I got you. What do you got, Glenna?
I was just gonna say when Afrita was talking about the bank that's too close, um, one of my listings that was for lease, I got an application. We were working through the application, and the applicants told me, they're now tenants, told me something that I've never heard before. They were like, "Well, we have to go out of town, drive 4 hours to go to a savings bank that we can only get if we go there in person. So it would take me time to go withdraw the money. They have to drive 4 hours to this bank." I keep thinking, which bank is that? That's a good way to put your money away.
Yep, that's the second layer he talks about. After you get your operational account, or excuse me, your income account, your operation, and your other three, then on the profit and taxes, you move them, quote, offshore to another bank that's like that. So you don't get tempted to dip in and pull from those. So awesome that you've now experienced, Glenna, what that looks like.
That was one of my things. Right now I bank with PNC, and man, every account that you open up, man, it's like what, $20-$35 a month just to have it. So I'm going to visit my credit union. Thank you for that. I'm going to head to my credit union. And the beautiful thing is, because I don't really use my credit union much, I pass by PNC every day. So it's really easy to stop by and say, you know what, I need $50 today, and just kind of drip out that account. My credit union, I don't pass by there every day. I don't even have an online account for that. So that would be beautiful. Money will just go in there and I could pay it from my PNC account. Getting it back would require me to have a trip, which is exactly what I need. Thank you.
And I did mine. Mine's online. I think I got the link. It's Synchronicity, I think, or something like that bank. And it's from, I think Ryan may have given it to the link to me or shared it with me. And it's a savings account and it yields 4.25 or something like that. Yeah, I know. When I saw that, I was like, okay. I can't go there.
High yield.
Go there.
Can you share that bank, Carrie, in the chat?
It's called a high yield savings account in the free.
You guys were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, there's tons of options there. Some are over 5% right now. Okay. So you can always move your money into those high yield savings accounts. So it's gaining for you every single month.
Here, I'm going to put it in there right now. Hopefully it'll work.
Thank you. And the other part of it too, it talks about immediate pain gets the ball rolling, but pleasure keeps it moving, right? So it's like, for me, it's all just trying to turn this into a game of pleasure. And doing this, is definitely helping. Even having these conversations too, right? It kind of ignites a little bit in your mind, and then inside you're like, okay, I can take action and feel confident that I'm getting somewhere closer to the end goal. So
a lot of times, as long as you add something to it, I mean, I think you said it right. Like I like to run around and travel too. And, I said to my wife, hey, we need to go somewhere. And I thought in my head, I said, you know what better motivating factor for me than to be able to say, okay, this trip is my, however you want to look at it, my goal or my present to myself. I like that better. My gift to myself. So I'm going to get a gift. I think it's Hawaii. I haven't been there yet. I think that's going to be a gift. I'm just going to try for it. What have we got to lose? I mean, it's not like many of us are high skying it in regards to these processes right now. So anything from this point up is up.
Hey, client, what about if you were able to take that vacation and use the money from your profit account and it doesn't even touch your salary? Like, that's another part that kind of is like, ooh, gets me excited, right? Because that's what it talks about in the book, where we get to the point where we're not using our salary to go on trips. to buy a new house or to invest in this thing. Now we have so much profit that you can take that profit, you can go on that vacation with your wife, and you can come back and look into your account and still see that all your coins are still there. How would that feel?
That should feel good. I got to make some calls to make it happen for sure.
Yeah. Same here. I'm working on it too.
Well, we got to make lots of calls, lots of conversations. That's how the ball gets rolling.